This will be a video to help people with their setons naval play. We're going to look at Dim 14, by far the best player in the Supreme Commander Forge Alliance. So I encourage people to not kick noobs too much, but if you kick them, show them this video or teach them yourself, because we need all the noobs we can get. And if you find this useful, just share it with people. So setons is by far the hardest map, so if you get booted, don't get discouraged. We need new players, so please come back. So let's start this. First thing, just a word that you should not be creative in this game until you've learned at least one or two builds really well understood why people are doing what they're doing. So don't try to come up with your own stuff just yet. So this is a build that you should just memorize, maybe write it down on a piece of paper, and I'm going to go pretty slow. First, let's look at what Dim is doing. He's doing something funny. Got a mass extractor first before he gets his factory. That's probably just Dim being Dim. You can get the factory first, that's standard, and then mass extractor and the PGen. So the things to remember here, and this is very specific, this is setons rock. For this spot is that you should get 2 mass extractors, 13 PGens, and a factory. You should only get the factory first, mass extractors pretty early, maybe your second, third, maybe your second and fifth structure that you build, but then 13 PGens seems to be pretty standard. And Dim probably came up with this build, but I've seen many people copy him on this one, so you should also copy him until you can come up with something more creative. So let's continue now. So you can see after he has the factory, 13 PGens, 2 mass extractors, he's going to go air. So the most important thing about this build is to notice what he does with the NGs. So notice what he does with the NGs. A whole bunch of NGs, nothing else, just 35. You could also use this button. This is infinite build, so 1 NG plus infinite build, but then it's harder to control what your factory does. So it's up to you what you do. So notice that he is already pointing where the first NG is going to go. And notice the way he arranged his power generators. He's putting a place for his NGs to stand so that he's not building on top of his NGs. So notice the NG stops here, then begins assisting the ACU. So now the ACU, T1 ACU is just like 2 NGs. Now he has 3 NGs working on this project, getting all this power. And power is very important early on this spot. See the second NG? And this is extremely important. There's a lot of rocks here that you definitely want to get as early as possible. Unless you're doing something funny with them, but if you're not, then get them with the second NG. First NG helps ACU, second NG gets rocks, third NG, not surprisingly, is eventually going to help the ACU, but it's going to get the other 2 mass extractors. So notice, if we just to recap, Dim is basically, with his ACU, has all the structures queued up. His first 2 NGs, his first NG helps the ACU, second NG gets rocks, third NG gets a couple more mass extractors, helps ACU. So nothing is running away to the other mass spots yet. Hydra is kind of far in this one, so usually Hydra is gotten a little later. Alright, so I'm going to be really thorough on this. It might be annoying to you, but so let's see the 4th NG helps the ACU. But you can see he's also placing it right in this gap between his PGens. So now this is now 4 NGs. So now we're seeing the fifth NG is also helping the ACU. And now it's going to be the 4th. So he's going to get this air factory very quickly. And that's the idea here, is to get that air factory as fast as possible. So now you see the 6th NG. It's default patrolling, but he's going to get it to go after some of these mass spots. So let's look at what this 6th NG is doing. He's going to get these 4 mass spots, and then this, for the rock flare, a very important place. You can see Dim is going to get a radar and 3 ground factories. So ground factories is what you use. So if you just look at this, you got a whole big ocean here. There's really no reason to make any tanks, something like that. So you basically will have to spam a lot of NGs here. If you're at minute 2, Dim's already planned to have a lot of NGs in this area to produce his navy. And really, NGs is the most important thing in new players forget that you really need a lot of them. So now you can see at 220, Dim is working in his air factory. So he has nothing queued up yet, but he's probably going to get a bomber, transport, and then interceptors. That's really what you want to notice, that he's got a whole bunch of NGs now switched to help in this bomber. He's also getting a little more power, so that's really up to him. That really depends on what your back player is doing, how much mass you expect to get, how much air. So the more air you plan on getting, the more power you'll need. So now you can see his other NGs are basically going out. So after the first 6, he's just going to collect all these mass spots. And you can see he's actually being very aggressive in this one, playing against Le Pen. He sent his first air unit bomber to the other side, and that's basically in setons when you're playing Navy until about minute 8 or 10. All the attacking you're going to be doing is with drops, T1 air. So you really want to get good with bombers and drops. So you can see what he's loaded up in here is some NGs. This mech marine didn't make it, as well as some mech marines in this transport. So he's going to go to his island, and since he's going at about 340, there's a very small chance that he'll get intercepted. And notice this bomber has radar, so he would have seen something flying. So that's an extra piece of safety for him. So now notice that it looks like he got a nice boost of mass. So let me pause this so we can see what he's doing everywhere. From the mid spot. So that's why it's important to have a good mid player. You can see Dim has really nice mass. He is upgrading 2 of his mass extractors, and this is the first one he's doing. Notice it's only using -46 instead of -60. This one's -58. It's because he's built these PGens around it. It's a little bonus. It's like getting an extra PGen for free. He's also built extra land factories here, and this is really to get a lot of build capacity, a lot of NGs to reclaim all these trees. So 2 mass extractors are already being upgraded. Usually it's a good idea to only do 1 at a time and then assist. So you can see after he builds this 4th factory with ACU, he's going to assist the mass extractor. So to this point you should basically copy everything identical if you're a new player. So now let's look at what happens with this bomber. He's got a bomber already at 4 minutes, an NG expanding to these outside mass extractors. As you can see, he slows it down. He's going to spot these 2 NGs. He can assume those are NGs. And if you can take those out before they get a factory, it's going to be a very good situation. He has also dropped off a single NG at the island. He's going to establish an island where there's going to be mass extractors in factory. And now you can see he's going to take these out before they can build anything. Of course, Le Pen is a pretty good player. He's getting another NG there. And the bomber really was very valuable. It also took away Le Pen's willingness to go to the island. So instead of fighting over Dim's island, he's fighting over Le Pen's base, and he's also got a transport coming in. So while all that's happening, you can see Dim is using his ACU to upgrade his mass extractors. It's this first T2 mass extractor. It's going to be his 2nd, and then eventually his 3rd. And you can see even at 450 he still doesn't really have all of his mass spots. That's pretty slow, but it's still fine. So now you can see he's dropped off 2 NGs, some mech marines. The mech marines are going to come out. So it's a really good combination, NGs plus mech marines. Killed off that NG, and now he's going to get a factory going. And the air fight was over Le Pen's base, so that makes his island really safe as well as his own base. That's something you should do, is use your fastest units, which is T1 air, early on to go over your opponent's base. And you can see a big response from Le Pen here, building a whole bunch of mech marines chasing down Le Pen's mech marines, and Dim decided to just capture these mass spots. You can see Dim still has pretty nice mass. What he's doing is upgrading 2 mass extractors. And another thing is he has started 2 NGs, and this is what you should do around minute 5. These NGs these power generators that you've made with your ACU are not going to be enough. So at minute 5 it should be like a trigger. You should start a couple NGs just spamming T1 PGens. And how much you spam is going to really depend on your back player. If your back player can get a lot of power, excess power around minute 10, then you can really relax in terms of power. But if they don't, you really got to make your own power, maybe go T2. So now you can see Dim is getting his fourth, he's actually got another one here. This is fifth T2 mass extractor. And you can see his air and bombers still harassing Le Pen. So this has two effects. He can see whether or not Le Pen is starting Navy. That's the most important thing. Plus he's making Le Pen not fight over Dim's base, so Le Pen is not getting intel. And this is a really great target. You can see these NGs, they like to stick together. They gotta put bombs on those NGs. So now Dim doesn't really have to put too much build capacity on his Navy unless he wants to, because he knows that Le Pen is not making any Navy, so it's safe for him. And if he knows that it's safe and he's doing all of his attacking with T1 air, he can focus on upgrading his economy. So basically Dim chooses when he goes Navy. And when you go Navy, you cannot upgrade nearly as much. So you can see Dim is basically getting a few of these mass extractors. He's got 3 of them at once. Really need at least 1,000 in the bank if you're doing that many at once. And a good thing that he's doing with the micro is using NGs to help those out. You really want to speed up those upgrades as much as you can. So 2 NGs making power and some NGs making T2 mass extractors. Also notice he's got radar different parts of his base. So now he's been satisfied with Le Pen here. Most likely Le Pen's got some flak. He's going to switch his point of attack to the middle, so help out his middle player. It's a really good play from Dim so far. You can see he's making a lot of frigates. With frigates he can put pressure. You don't want to rush T2 Navy right away. That's something that players a lot of times neglect, is T1 Navy, and T1 Navy is extremely valuable. So you can see Dim decided to pause a few of his mass factories here. That's most likely because he got a brand new base here. So from this point on, it's no longer a standard situation because he's got multiple bases. But you can see how effective T1 air is. That's something you should never neglect as a side player, because with Navy you can only attack later in the game. So hopefully that's clear. Also, the ACU from Dim is being put into this water spot. That's always the safest spot for all the ACUs. Right on the edge, so you can either dodge torpedo bombers or strat bombers. And now you can see all 3 factories are making NGs. There's a lot of build capacity here. Also you see his gun, T2 Navy. He's got a frigate here. Another good unit to put here, some units are the anti-air flag, so a lot of times this is a great target for your opposing player. So with the T1 bombers, that's the counter for that, as well as submarines. That's the counter is the torpedo launcher. So both these units you can bid very quickly with your NGs. And really the key is to have a lot of NGs here, so you have all those options open to you. So I think at this point I'm going to stop this. Hopefully this was useful. So to recap, you really want to memorize what Dim did in the middle. Just memorize exactly this build. Build a lot of land factories making NGs. Upgrade your T2 mass extractors and attack with T1 air. That's basically the key. And as soon as you get a good eco, have a lot of NGs here. And you can see what Le Pen's doing. Dim is losing NGs, but you can see his counter is this flak. Because Dim has a whole bunch of factories here which are harder to kill, he can always replenish these NGs. And notice both T2 and T1 Navy is present. You want to build both. Alright, so hopefully this was useful.